I'd like to welcome the audience to the January 21st, 2020 Parish and Zoning Board meeting. Would you all please stand while Mr. LaSalle Williams says the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Dear God, again we come thanking you for allowing us to see another blessed day. We pray for your presence in this meeting tonight. We thank you for the past year that you allowed us to take care of this business. Bless us for the new year that we may carry ourselves in a way that's pleasing in your sight. Blessing upon this staff and also this board. We pray for those who come seeking our help tonight, that the Holy Spirit guide and lead us, that we might do that which is pleasing in your sight. This we offer as our prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christie, would you call the roll?
Chair Kirk Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Julia Dickerson,
Here.
Ms. Latricia Cobb,
Here.
Mr. Art Little,
Here.
Ms. Sharon Galicia,
Here.
Ms. Janelle Hyatt, here, Mr. Kyle Link, Mr. Jake Porsche,
Here.
Mr. Gary Navarre,
Here.
and Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
This time I'd like to welcome and recognize Mr. Ashton Richard, Police Bureau of District 1, to our meeting. Thanks for coming. This is an 11-member board. It will take the majority of those present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless the tie may affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone, state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicants need to fill out a blue request to appear form located in the back of the room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there's a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for the individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The variance is final tonight. The road abandonment and rezone cases will go before the police jury for final action on January 23rd, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following this meeting. For additional run dates, check the websites at www.cppj.net, Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis, Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all electronic devices. Okay, we're going to take appropriate action to approve the minutes of December 17th, 2019 Planning and Zoning meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Coach Williams.
It's Art Little.
Oh, I'm sorry, Art. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Take appropriate action on AB-1019-0012, a request by the Mitigation Group LLC to abandon and revoke the original road and right-of-way dedicated of approximately 14,763 and a half feet of an unconstructed road in sections 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, and 11 of Township 8 South, Range 9 West, Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana, in Wards 1 and 6. I will entertain a motion to recommend approval with condition.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Dunn?
This right-of-way is located in the North Moss Bluff area. The applicant is in the process of converting their property into a wetland mitigation bank and owns the property on both sides of the dedicated right-of-way. Because the road was never constructed, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the condition that the abandonment is subject to an agreement between the Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 2, Calcasieu East, and the Mitigation Group LLC regarding laterals, easements, and rights-of-way relative to drainage. A letter of no objection has been received from the Division of Engineering, and can be found on your tablets.
We have one blue card for this agenda item. Mr. Tom Gale?
Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Tom Gale on behalf of the applicant. My address is 713 Kirby Street in Lake Charles. Are there any questions, any concerns? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gale. Any comments or discussion by the board? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, take appropriate action on VAR-1219-0117, a request by Jared Bruno Edux for a variance to decrease the side and front yard setback requirements for a pond. Required 50 feet, requesting 20 feet at 1091 Zoe's Court in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Williams and Ms. Hyatt, seconds. Ms. Dunn?
This property is located in South Lake Charles area and encompasses approximately 1.32 acres of agricultural zone land. The applicant intends to excavate a pond on the property and utilize the materials to elevate his house pad. Although the board has approved previous cases, the applicant has not demonstrated a hardship as per Parish Code of Ordinances. Therefore, the staff recommends the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following conditions: that the development adhere to site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that their director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices, that obstructing the flow of surface water is prohibited.
We have one blue card in favor. Mr. Gale?
Members of the commission, Tom Gale, 713 Kirby Street, Lake Charles. This is another one of the Zoe's Place lots. We've done multiple of these at this point in time, and so, again, it's a request. Yes, sir.
How many more of these we have to do?
Until they're sold out.
Well, if this, wait a minute, why did they ever make the ruling? If we're gonna change every lot? If they're not sold by now, then whoever buys them needs to know that it's gonna be that way. What's the use of having an ordinance if the whole parish is grandfathered in?
I don't think the whole parish is being grandfathered.
Well, but this, this whole subdivision, we've done past, what, 5 or 6 of them?
At
7?
least.
You know?
It's there.
No.
Is there a question? Oh, well, I was going to say, the whole parish is not grandfathered in. So, Mr. Navarro, I think that it'd be different if when they platted this property, they showed a pond on each of those properties, but they did not. So the plat was never approved that way. And so we're not sure who's going to buy these properties and how they're going to construct. Somebody may construct on piers. They may have a chain wall. There's different ways of constructing homes to elevate the property.
then why don't we, if somebody buys the property, okay, you buying this property, you're gonna have to build it up. Besides, the pond's gonna be 50 foot. If we have a parish ordinance that's 50 foot, it should be 50 foot. And and this one subdivision, it keeps coming back up.
Well, I can't deny a person the right to make application.
Yeah.
I can't, I have to take in their application. And so, that's why these keep coming up. When they sell the property, the buyer, wants to construct a pond, to use the dirt, to build up their pads. And so, but we don't know that until those people come in and want to do that.
Right.
I have no idea. And until they do, again, the request to reduce the setback, there's not been demonstrated to me under the ordinance to, they can do that. Now, the
Because-
board has the right to,
I understand that, but if y'all remember, the first one that came up, and I'm sure he'll remember, I was totally against it. And then when I found out the guy had bought it just before the first of the year, a year ago, I changed my mind. But now, if they're buying it, there's gotta be a cutoff point. That's my feeling, there's gotta be a cutoff point. We've done 6 or 7 already, and how many more is out there that's vacant,
I'm not sure.
What I offered to do, Ms. Navarro, is to come in and do it on a subdivision as a whole. And this is a fairly unique parcel because what happened is it got approved in 2018 and it got approved in a flood zone. And there's a handful, if any other subdivisions that are uniquely situated that got approved in a current year, in a recent year, and the flood zone rules got changed on them. And so the developer of the subdivision laid it out based upon what the ordinance said at the time that engineering reviewed it. And so they were in compliance and everything has been fine. And had they done everything by December 31 of the year 2018, everybody out there could have done exactly what we're talking about doing right now. Actually, they could have gone down further. They could have gone down to 10 feet. And so now that they're going back in and the subdivision's been laid out and it's been developed and it's been approved that way, that's where we're going back and doing them. And we offer to do it as a subdivision as a whole. And it is my appreciation that this gives everybody the opportunity to look at the lots one at a time in case there is a unique circumstance that dictates a different outcome.
But see, my problem is, we're doing this subdivision here. It's sure check, somebody's gonna come in and say, that's not in this subdivision. And he's gonna wanna go 20 feet. He can say, hey, y'all did 8 or 10 of them in this subdivision over here. Y'all have to do mine now. And it makes us look like a bunch of dummies.
I don't think it does. I think this is a unique subdivision and it is what it is. And the lots were laid out fairly narrow and fairly deep based upon the assumption that they're going to be able to
Can't they build the ponds deeper instead of wider? Get the same amount of dirt?
What happens is you run into slope requirements on that, and then you run into safety issues. Because if you got a guy who's driving a lawnmower and you have a cliff that falls off on it as opposed to a 3-to-1 slope, you want to give them the opportunity to at least have a safety component and erosion control.
Go ahead, Mr. Gal.
Well, I was just going to remind, Mr. Chairman, I think the applicant is actually here, so we want to hear from the applicant about this piece of property and what his situation is. But, Mr. Navarro, you're right. You have taken each of these properties individually, and this board's action should be taking consideration of what you've done with previous lots that may mirror this one. But again, each lot has to be viewed on its own because it's coming before you for variance on this piece of property. But with that, maybe we should hear from the applicant.
I don't know. Obviously within the past year, but I honestly don't know. Do you have it?
January 2019.
Okay.
Of 19?
January 11.
So the ordinance was in then?
But did he know about it?
It went into effect in January of 19, January 9th or something.
So the man selling the property knew about it. Not the man buying it maybe didn't, but the guy that sold the property
The developer.
knew, yeah, he knew about it.
I don't know
But
if you knew
didn't-
about it at
He
this.
didn't tell the man that was buying it.
I don't know if you knew about it on this particular sale, but when we did discover that it was a problem, because the first property owner came in to pull the permit and they said, uh-oh, we got a problem. Some had already been pulled and some were in the pipeline at that time, but short answer is I don't know.
Mr. Bruno in the audience?
Yes.
Would you like to come and address some of these issues with us? State your name and address for the record.
Name is Jared Bruno. Address is 1815 Ashford Circle, Lake Charles. Yes, my wife and I are the ones who own the property. We originally went underneath the contract with this property in 2018, July 2018, right after I believe it was approved from this group about the plot being approved. Unfortunately, we couldn't secure the funds completely until after 2019, when you actually have the date of us purchasing the property. The idea of the pond is that is the natural area when the lot has been cleared, that is the natural low area of the land. So that's we'd like to keep it that way, and it is to dig for the house pad. Without being able to dig the pond to the size that we were requesting, we're talking quite a bit additional funds that were not in our original idea, plan, budget, and quite frankly, I don't see how we can do it. So that's why we're requesting the size and placement of the pond.
Excuse me, sir, were you told about it being, that the pond was gonna be 50 foot from the property line?
No, sir, we did not understand that until you guys, we came for the first meeting that you guys had about the first person y'all saw. I forgot the gentleman's name, quite frankly, that y'all approved. We came to that meeting that night because that was the first we heard of it. We'd gone out there several times to look at our property, clean it up and whatnot, and we saw the parish sign on his property, so we weren't sure what was going on. And that's when we learned about the 50-foot variance at that point.
Boucher?
Just general comments here that I've made in the past after we approved the initial one. You know, Mr. Bruno here purchased the property. You know, we're putting a lot of responsibility on these buyers that should reside with the developer. A lot of times they're dealing with realtors that aren't familiar with the developer. They're driving through now, making assumptions, seeing, you know, offsets that are in place for ponds that are built, et cetera. And I just have a hard time shifting gears and starting to tell people no now that we've set a precedent on this. I wish, and I know we have to treat everyone separately, but I wish we could look at this on a subdivision level and just get a variance approved for this subdivision only and be done with this, because it just continues every month, which, I mean, that's what we're here for. I'm not complaining. But I just think it's, you know, it's a lot to put on a buyer they're already trying to do their due diligence, but for a developer to remember to make sure this is in the, I mean, there's a big dependence upon communication that the buyer really, I feel like we're gonna make them pay here on out if we start reversing our decisions on these.
And
Mr. Navarre?
is there a way we can go back to the developer and say, hey, buddy, you gotta correct this? You gotta make sure you tell these people that it's 50 foot from the property line?
I don't think that,
Well,
it's not gonna happen.
well, everybody's presumed to know what the law is, especially the laws affecting their properties. As far as going back, as Mr. Crane has stated numerous times as these things come before you, the planning department has viewed these items as a individual property. Each one stands on its own. There may be different things that come into effect with each property. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at this subdivision. I don't know how many lots are left. And it may be that you guys have set the precedent. You don't want to vary from that and just keep approving them. I don't still know how that's going to go. But right now, what's before you is Mr. Bruno's application for a variance, and that's what we're deciding tonight.
I will say, just in looking at previous site plans, I think one of the first two, you know, with the offsets that are currently in place, it seems the amount of dirt that they're needing to build up, the volume that they're needing, it is pushing that pond really tight to the rear of their homes. And I understand, I have 3 kids. I mean, you don't want to step off the back porch and, hello, there's your pond, you know? So I get where they're coming from as far as a functional aspect of having that pond pushed as far back and still being able, and as far as a hardship, I know we approve monthly, things, we'll approve a variance because it reflects existing conditions or it suits well with other parts of the parish and it's not always a hardship. But this, in fact, I've done some development. Dirt is gold. I mean, to get dirt, it is a financial hardship. So I'm seeing a financial hardship here for these homeowners. And like I said, a lot of assumptions are made by sight and seeing what your neighbor did and assuming that you can do it also. And that's where we are now with this subdivision, is now there's neighbors that, well, he did it, she did it, he did. I'm assuming when I'm purchasing, that's how it's done here. So I see a hardship for these people and shifting gears on them after their purchase, especially if they've made the agreement in 2018. So I think, I don't see how we can deny what we've already approved. That's just my thoughts.
Anything else, Mr. Bruno? Coach?
This might be a question for staff. Seems to me it'd be much easier if we don't have something in it. If you're gonna develop a subdivision and you're gonna sell these individual lots out, look like the developer should be responsible to make sure the ordinance is in place before they sell this property to individual people. Have to be coming back, say, well, I didn't know this because nobody, but if you're gonna develop it, make it suitable to fulfill the ordinance before they buy. Is that difficult?
question?
That seems to be a difficult question.
Well, I agree. I think they should. I think the developer should, yeah. But again, we're not sure how these properties are going to develop out unless it's shown to us on a plan, how they're going to do it.
But the developer knows. He might not tell y'all, but he knows, I guarantee you he knows.
Well, that's what they said.
Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns? Thank you, Mr. Bruno. Christie, roll call vote.
Barr,
Abstain.
Cobb, Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Oh,
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Ms. Hyatt, Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson. Are 1 against, 1 abstain.
Passes. Okay, next item. Take appropriate action on RZ-1219-0152, a request by Nick Edward Morrison II, Edux, to rezone from agricultural to light commercial. From agricultural A1 to light commercial C1 to allow commercial development convenience store in the 7600 block of Highway 14 East in Ward 2. I will entertain a motion to recommend approval with conditions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Mr. Little. Ms. Dunn?
This property is located in the Hayes area and encompasses approximately .70 acres of agricultural zone land. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to light commercial to allow a convenience store. Because the proposed zoning is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development and the light source cannot be visible to the adjacent properties, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances prior to final electrical approval on the specific development, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that permitting is subject to approval from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Does the applicant have anything to add to this presentation? Then we have no blue cards. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No? Motion passes. Take appropriate action on RZ-1219-0153, a request by His Heirs LLC to rezone from mixed residential R2 to general commercial C2 to allow commercial development off-premises sign in the 5,000 block of Highway 27 in Ward 6. I will entertain a motion to recommend approval with conditions. Ms. Cobb made the motion, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn?
This property is located in the DeQuincy area and encompasses approximately 0.59 acres of mixed residential zone land. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to general commercial. The applicant intends to lease a portion of the land to allow an off-premise advertising sign. Because the proposed zoning is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, and that the use be limited to an off-premise sign.
Tunn, does the applicant have anything to add to this presentation?
Board, my name is Bobby Charlie, 404 High Hope Road, Sulphur, Louisiana. I'm here to represent Ultra Outdoor, and we're just expanding our business, and we're just granting and asking permission to have this rezoned, to put the billboard sign. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Have no blue cards. Is there any discussion by the board? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, take appropriate action on RZ-1219-0154, a request by Bourgeois and Harrod LLC to rezone from mixed residential R2 to multifamily residential RM to allow multifamily residential developments, duplexes, at 5712 Noby Lane in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion to recommend approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn?
This property is located in the South Lake Charles area and encompasses 0.92 acres of mixed residential zone land. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to multifamily to allow duplexes. If the request is approved by the board and the police jury, the applicant will come before you next month to request a variance for density requirements. Because the proposed development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development and the light source cannot be visible to the adjacent properties, that the development adhere to the stormwater best management practices, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that a 6-foot wooden privacy fence be installed along the south, east, and west property lines.
Does the applicant have anything to offer to this presentation? No? Okay. Board member have any comments or questions regarding this? There being no blue cards, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, take appropriate action on RZ 1219-0155, a request by White and McCown LLC to rezone from agricultural A1 to light industrial I1 to allow industrial development, contractor shop and storage yard at 2636 Pujol Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion to recommend approval with conditions. Motion by Mr. Little, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn?
This property is located in the Clo area and encompasses approximately 12.46 acres of agricultural zone land. At this time, the applicant is requesting to rezone that property to light industrial to allow a contractor shop and storage yard. The applicant is a contractor and would like to locate his light industrial business to this location. Because the proposed zoning is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development and the light source cannot be visible to the adjacent properties, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances prior to final electrical approval on the specific development, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that permitting is subject to approval from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, and that the rezoning be in accordance with the final zoning map.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. Does the applicant have anything to add to this presentation?
Robin Bissoni, 1010 Lakeland Drive, Lake Charles. I'm representing White and McCown LLC, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Questions for Ms. Basone? We have no blue cards. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 12, take appropriate action on a request by the Calcasieu Parish Division of Planning and Development on proposed amendments to Chapter 26 of the Code of Ordinances of Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana, specifically related to community-type sewer systems. Mr. Crane?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. At the last meeting, some of our stakeholders were here, and we're concerned about some of the language that we had in our ordinance. We have since met with them, and they have provided numerous questions that we're in the process of trying to answer. And so we would request and recommend that you defer this matter indefinitely until further notice. We'd appreciate that, until we can get back with you on that.
Is there a motion to defer this matter? Motion by Mr. Navarre.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hyatt. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No. Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Item 13, the next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on December 19th, 2019, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the December 17th, 2019 meeting. Adley Absher, Leger Road, Planning and Zoning recommended approval. Police jury approved. Item 15, the next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 18th, 2020, in the police jury meeting room. Our next item on the agenda is adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Navarre, second by Coach Williams.
Yeah, second. She already second.
The meeting is adjourned.